Hey, interwebs, Angie here, and we are talking Love is Blind. Thank you for joining me. If that's what you're into, pull up a seat and stay for a while. And if you like what you hear, then click the channel below and check out Faith Over Everything podcast that I host with my sister if you would like to hear more. Until then, let's jump into the episode. This is Love is Blind, season 7, episode 5, titled What the Duck. Okay, so this episode we pick up where we left off with Brittany and Leo, and they are talking. He made the whole comment about like, I'm just going to keep saying I love you because I know you like hearing it. And immediately, Brittany is like, I do, and I'm like, girl, no, you were supposed to come in here and be like, hey, this is what happened with you and Hannah. But okay, he's telling you, you're hearing what you want to hear, which is that I love you. So then he ends up reading her a poem. The poem starts off with how he remembers their first date, how he feels about her, and then he proposes. He asks her to marry him, and then she says yes. And then she says thank you, and then they have an awkward conversation. It was like yes, and then they're kind of like he's smiling, she's smiling, and then it's kind of like okay, like I don't know what else to say. And I'm like, how about I love you? Like, yes, I'll marry you. I love you. Like, I don't know. At this point, it's just really giving you said yes because he asked, or you just said yes just to say yes. But because of that, we officially have couple number 6. Whatever. I don't, I just felt like it was not necessary. Like y'all shouldn't be engaged. That's how I felt at that point. Like, because you didn't talk about anything. Like you didn't address anything that happened between him and Hannah, how he made you feel. Like you told him how he made you feel, and there was nothing that was addressed about it. But anywho, we go to the next scene. We get our Hannah and Nick reveal. So I haven't really mentioned like the prior conversations before being revealed, but I kind of felt like this one was important because prior to being revealed, her and Nick, we hear Hannah saying that she knows Nick is so hot because he's a jock and he's a football player, and she know he doesn't have any problem getting women, and that I just felt like seeing that made me feel like, oh, this is going to be a letdown, because I don't know. I just was suspecting that Hannah may not be physically attracted to him just because they played that scene of her saying like just how hot he is. The doors open, and you can see a little hesitation on Hannah's part because I think she might have been taken aback, like, oh, hmm. But they come together, they embrace, they share a kiss. He gets down on the knee, he puts the ring on, and then they go off to the side and they begin to talk. With heels on, she is about the same height as him. He's still a little taller, but Nick was like, "That's fine, I love that." In her one-on-one talking to production, she's like, well, the way that Nick described himself is not what is not what I'm seeing. She says that he described himself as a bigger build, medium build. She says that she feels a little insecure, because she feels like she's bigger than him, and a lot of times men feel emasculated by that. And she's like, well, maybe maybe, like, I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing or whatever else. Like, I don't know. But we'll see. So then I was like, I will say Nick's demeanor, he does give off that he thinks he's hotter than he really is, because he was like, you like what you see, blah blah blah. Like, I mean, I didn't know what you were going to get, but you kind of knew what I looked like. And it was just like, no, she didn't, because if you explained how you looked and it's a letdown, you clearly oversold yourself because she is not seeing what you told her. But if you think she is seeing what you told her, then Nick definitely thinks that he is hotter than what he really is. But whatever, they talk a little more, they kiss, they say I love you, and they go their separate ways. The next scene, we have Ramses and Marissa. He tells Marissa that she has made him feel secure and safe, and that she loves him for who he is, and that he's able to be himself, and that just makes him feel great. Marissa shares that the type of the type of love he has shown her, she hasn't always felt deserving of, and he makes her feel like she does deserve love. And then Ramses proposes, and now we have our seventh couple. And I'm like, oh, seven couples. This is a lot. Okay, this is a lot. I don't think we've seen this much on Love is Blind. But here we are. Okay, and then next we get our Leo and Brittany reveal. Before the reveal, we hear Brittany is in her confessional saying that, yesterday she was proposed to, but she doesn't remember a word he said. She says all she remembers hearing is her first, middle, and last name. I said, which makes me think again that she just said yes just to say yes, and because she wanted to be engaged. Like at this point, she just wanted to win. Like, I don't even care how it happened, whatever. Just let me win. The doors open, they embrace, they kiss, and he gets down on his knee. He proposes with the ring. They go sit down and talk a little, and it's like Leo kept like awkwardly like trying to embrace her and like kiss her, where it's like now he's like he did this like but she didn't kiss him. It was just weird. Like they sat down and he like went in for the kiss, but you could tell she wasn't going in for the kiss. So instead of just like stopping and pulling back, he stayed there, and then he had like his arm around her, and then they were just like talking, and he was just like so close to her face, and it just looked weird. But whatever. He tells her that he loves her, and she says that she's not ready to say it yet. And I was just like, this is why are we here? Like, if you don't love him, and that was the thing too, it was just kind of like, okay, but now Brittany, you went through all of that in the past with this man. Well, off top, let me just say this. I don't think she's ready to say it because I don't think she likes him. I don't think she's physically attracted to him. I don't know she probably didn't expect anything. Leo might have oversold himself too. I don't know, but I don't think she was attracted to him. But she's like, yeah, I'm not ready to say it yet. He's like, that's okay. I'll just keep telling you. I'm just going to keep telling you I love you. And then she asked, like, well, why do you love me? And he said, because what you bring out in me. Not only did you teach me to follow my heart, but I want to be your structure so you can be your most intuitive self, because that's what I like about you, or that's what I love about you the most, is your intuition. And I was just like, that's like, you said all of that. Like, really, most of it was about you. You like what she brings out of you. You like that she taught you how to follow your heart. And then you're like, well, and then I want to be your structure so you can be your most intuitive. But you already said that what you love about her most is her intuition. Whatever, sir. So she's like, well, that can't be all. Because really, you haven't said anything, is essentially what she was saying. That's what I was thinking. It's like, you really haven't said anything, so that can't be all. He's like, well, do you want me to go into physical features? She said no, but I'm like, sir, how could you love my physical features when you just met my physical features? You ain't never seen my physical features to start talking about that's why you love me, because you proposed to me and told me you love me in the pods. So what do you love about me? He keeps trying to kiss her instead of talking. But I think he's trying to, buy himself more time to figure out what he wants to say. So then he's like, well, I loved your voice from the moment I heard you. You're caring, you're strong, you're smart. And he's like, well, what do you love about me? And she was like, I mean, this is just so much pressure. Y'all, I was like, what is going on? Like, I mean, to be fair, she did say she wasn't there yet. So it probably was too much pressure, because she like, wait a minute, I would have been like, boy, I never told you I loved you. So no, I don't have nothing to tell you. But anyway, she's like, this is just too much pressure. And she was like, I love that even though you made me feel like an option for a second, you were just doing what you were supposed to do. I'm like, wait, what? Like, so you love that he played the game? Like, I don't, whatever. Now they're just weirdly cuddling on the couch. They have all these awkward kisses. Brittany even says, this is one of the most awkward moments of my life. And then she's like, well, I just feel bad not being able to reciprocate saying I love you at this time. And he's like, that's fine. I can wait for you to say it. You can say it when you mean it. And then he tells her that he loves her. And she says she feels like he's lying when he says it. And he's like, really? And she's like, no, I don't know. And she's like, I just don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then in her confessional, she's telling us that something in her brain is not computing. And she's just thinking, like, this stranger asked me to marry him. And it's just not registering that she is engaged to this person. And then she asked him, like, well, do you think that out in the real world we will be together? And he's like, no. And she was like, yeah, I agree. And then they talk about seeing each other in Mexico if they go to Mexico. And then if they don't go to Mexico, then she's like, well, let's go to, if we don't go to Mexico, then let's go to Miami. And he's like, okay. And she's like, okay, we can go to Miami. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I didn't know. So I didn't know that basically it seems like the producers choose who get to go to the getaway. Because we see them go their separate ways. The scene ends. Brittany's all alone, and she's like, what have I done? Because in that scene, like they are not, it's not computing. And then the next thing we know, we see words on the screen that says that Brittany and Leo were not one of the 6 couples chosen by producers to go to Mexico. And I was like, oh, it's they did end up taking that trip to Miami, but after a few weeks of, being together, they broke off their engagement. I said, well, that is unfortunate for them, but I'm excited because now Leo is off my screen. Y'all know the last few reviews I've been saying, get this man off my screen. So as for now, he is gone. Okay. Maybe he'll come back when they all get together later on, the pod squad and stuff. But as for now, good day, Leo. Okay. Good day. So next we get Ramses and Marissa's reveal. The doors open. They both like what they see. They sit down, they talk for a while. They're trying to they're like having a good time. They're talking like, oh my God, I just can't believe I'm looking at you, just your voice, just acclimating the voices to the faces. He tells her that she's gorgeous. And she's like, oh, because she said something about his face. And he was like, what? And she's like, oh, no, I like your face. Like, and she's just like, oh my God, he's so handsome and blah, blah, blah. And she just thinks he's the bee's knees. They have giddy demeanor with each other. And Marissa's like, oh, we're going to have pretty babies. And I was like, okay, girl. They get up and start to kind of walk away together. And then they finally share a kiss. And after all this excitement of seeing each other, he realizes he didn't even give her the ring. And she oh my goodness, they were just so excited to see each other. So he's like, okay, here's the ring. He gets down on his knee, gives her the ring, exchange I love yous. And now we are on our way to the getaway, which is in Cabo San Lucas. I still want to point out that Tim is the only one that did not get out on his knees or his knee, and that I don't know. But we officially have all of our couples. Again, there are 6 couples: Garrett and Taylor, Tyler and Ashley, Stephen and Monica, Tim and Alex, Nick and Hannah, and now Ramses and Marissa. Y'all, we are out of the pods. We have made it out, and now we are in Mexico. Okay, so the first scene we see are my favorites, Tyler and Ashley. She's telling him that she got a little red thing packed for him. And he was like, okay, you got a red bathing suit. And she was like, yeah, I got a red bathing suit too. And he's like, oh, you know what? We never really talked about sex, in the pod. They talked about it a little bit, but not really. They kind of touched on it. They touched on it because I guess Ashley said that she may have been celibate or something. So she's like, she went through a season of celibacy because she wanted to form real connections with people, but not through sex. And, she did that for a while, and she just kind of wanted the next person she shared herself with intimately to be someone that she was in love with. Tyler shares that it's been a while for him as well, and that he's just not, he's not in his 20s no more. So basically they just kind of share that type of conversation. The next scene, we have Hannah and Nick. They are settling into their room and they're talking. Nick tells her that whatever is going to happen with them is going to happen, because it was they were kind of sitting and talking to each other, and then he's just kind of like, well, whatever happens is kind of going to happen. And it's kind of he was kind of insinuating that maybe, if they have sex, whatever happens on this trip. But in the morning when production, sits us down and asks us well, how was yesterday? How was last night? he like basically he's like, he wants to keep their business, they business, like keep it between them. He's like, something about like how he has a brand back at home and he's not going to be saying anything wild and crazy when production asks him anything. So I don't know. It was just weird because it's like, all right, so what would she say? Like if you did decide to do that with each other, um, that would be a decision that you both made, and you're on a TV show and you decided to share your life, this stuff with each other. So like what could she say? Like, I don't know. It was just weird. I felt that like you wanted to bring that up where I don't know. It was just like, what was the reason? Like, so you don't I don't know. Y'all let me know. And it just doesn't that seem weird? Like to be like, okay, well, and because I have a brand back home. Well, if you have a brand back home and your brand was that important, why don't you come on the show to begin with? My thoughts. Anyway, the next scene we have Tim and Alex. With these scenes, they were like quick scenes. So it's not a lot of stuff really happening because they're getting into Mexico and they're kind of settling in. So we have Tim and Alex. We find out that Alex is nearsighted, and she was like, so when the doors had opened, when you came out during the reveal, like I didn't even really see you. Like I saw you, but like I couldn't even really see you. And I thought that was funny. He's just like, oh, whatever. Like it was just kind of funny. The next thing we have is Ramses and Marissa. Marissa's telling him that she can't wait for him to meet her sister because she has always told her sister that she wants to date a man like Ramses. And he was like, well, why didn't you? And she was like, well, I think I judged them because maybe I felt like, they were too soft. And he's like me? And she's like, yeah, but I love that about you. And I was just like, I don't know. Cause she said, she's used to dating like hyper masculine men. And I was like, wait, so does that mean, because I'm just being 100% honest and transparent, like the men that I know in my life, they wouldn't want to be called soft either. I mean, the fact that Ramses was like, oh, like me, whatever, like I know for a fact that the men in my life would not want to be called soft. So I'm like, does that mean that the men in my life are hyper masculine? Y'all let me know. Or is Ramses just like, on another level? I don't know. Y'all let me know. Because even when she said it, I was like, oh, that's kind of rude to say to his face. That's me, my life, my opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all thought. Next up, though, we go to Monica and Steven. Monica tells us that before this experience, or before this experience, she placed men, or she valued men like based off of their like y'all, my notes is janky. Okay, Monica tells us that before this experience with men, she placed value on stuff like the prestigious university they went to, having a fancy job, things of that nature. And here she is with Steven, and he's pretty much all she wants. And he went to a 2-year college and he's an electrician. So she was like, she's okay with that because she's been looking for him for a long time, and it's the package that came in, so that's fine. I'll take it. Steven says that their accommodations is the fanciest thing he has ever seen. And if Monica wants to get down with the get down tonight, he is ready. Okay. Monica, oh Monica, Steven is ready to hump you. I don't know. Like he is ready to hump on her, but it's like, okay, now Steven, slow down. All right, slow down. Next we get Taylor and Garrett. We ain't seen them in a while, but here we go. Taylor and Garrett. Garrett says he is having an out-of-body experience. He is engaged to a woman that he would have never approached in the real world, like at a bar, but he has an extremely strong connection with her, and that he is also developing a strong physical connection. And I'm gonna tell you this. I told you everybody's redeemable right now. Garrett, I'm starting to like, okay, Garrett, you might have just been a misstep in the pods. That might have just been a misstep. I said at this point, it does sound like he's letting the experience do what it's supposed to do. Okay, because he has been kissing on her. They have been, touching, hugging and stuff. So I like that. I like that Garrett seems to be open to what's going on. We get Ashley and Tyler. They are in the pool outside of their room. She's looking at Tyler's tattoos because he has like tattoos on his arms and things. And she's like, well, where are you going to put my tattoo? So I guess they must have talked about him putting her or getting a tattoo for her on his body. something like that. So she's like, where you gonna put my tattoo? And he was like, I probably put it like right here. And he was like, across my heart. And I was like, okay, Tyler be saying the right stuff. Okay, maybe it's the church girl in me, because he talking about praying and stuff. That don't mean that he really on point. He could just be saying all the right things. But for right now, Tyler, you all right with me. They talk about the experience and how it has worked for them. And it really has been based off of not having that physical attraction, and solely on, their insides connecting alone. Like, our souls really connecting, us having conversation, like not knowing, because Ashley said, outside of me and you, she's like, I think only Taylor and Garrett were the only other ones that didn't talk about like physical. Because of course, all the women, they talk to each other. So they're the only ones that didn't kind of give any inkling to the other person of like what they may look like. So she was like, it just was basically no physical attraction, just basically off of them just attracting mentally alone. One line that Tyler said in this thing that I liked, where he said that, I like what's in the inside, but I'm glad that the outside is wrapped. And I said, okay, see, Tyler, we said the right stuff. Okay, I like that, Tyler. I like that. Our next scene is Tim and Alex. Alex asks him if he thinks that she's bossy because she feels like she is. Alex says, or not Alex, Tim says, you can try to be. I feel like you're used to being bossy, but I am an immovable object. So basically, he's like, when he said it, she looked at him like, what? Because I was looking at him too, like, what? But as he talked more, it's like, okay, he's basically just saying, like, you're not gonna get a reaction out of me. I'm even tempered. So you can try to be bossy and try and do whatever, but you're not gonna bring me up on my body to act no type of way. I'm even tempered. She says she used to have a short temper, and that she gets annoyed easily. He was like, well, what annoys you? And she was like, I don't like repeating myself. So he was like, well, the last time, I can't even think of the last time I was mad. And that, if he's mad, that means he had the person made him come outside himself, and that's a red flag. He said that he doesn't argue or yell, and if he finds himself doing these things, then it's time for him to go and exit stage left. She was like, so you would just go? And he was like, yep. She was like, even if you wouldn't, beg your wife to stay or whatever, or you wouldn't do this with your wife. And he was like, well, no, for my wife, sure, whatever. He was like, but I can be stubborn that way, where like, I'm not about to just be doing that. Like, I'm not going to do that. They end up discussing meeting the parents. And then somehow we get into this whole dog conversation again about him being a dog, or my dog, or it annoyed me. It annoyed her. Let's move on. Our next scene is with Hannah and Nick. They are discussing how things were in the pods and the nickname that the girls had given him. He asked, like, was I a hot commodity in the pods? And she was like, I mean, we talked about you, but we just like talking mess about you. And he was like, okay, well, that means I'm a hot commodity. He then says that he wants to see what all the other girls look like. He wants to see all the beautiful women. And he's like, oh, not like that. I don't mean it like that. And then he asked her if she had lip injections. And then he was like, oh no, I'm joking. And so I wrote, like, is this what he was doing in the pods? Like, now I will say, in the first episode, initially, there was some, like, the first time when Nick was meeting the other women and he was having, trying to be suave and smooth, he was getting on my nerves. Let me clarify that. I didn't put it in my notes because I didn't want to put too much. And, he ended up, for me, he was good by the end of the episode. But like, he was saying little things in the first episode where I was like, oh, he's irritated. But they didn't, like, they showed a little piece of it and then it went away. And so I felt like it wasn't noteworthy. I should have said it, because now in this scene, I feel like that kind of behavior is coming back. And I feel like maybe this is what we're missing. Like, y'all should have been showing him like this all the time, because that little bit that I saw, I thought maybe that was just a little nervousness and that wasn't like him. But now I'm thinking maybe that's him. And maybe that's why the women were talking about him the way they were talking about him, and they were thinking what they were thinking about him, is now my thought process, because it was just like, what? Like, it was just weird. But at the same time, Hannah's probably used to it because that's how he's been talking, and she liked that. And that's fine. It could still be true that he could still be her person, because she She don't mind that. But yeah, but I was like, is this what he was doing in the pods? Because I'm starting to see a little something. Nick, you don't let me down. Okay, do better. In her confessional, Hannah talks again about how initially she was thrown off by his appearance based off of how he oversold himself. And it took her a second to match the man she fell for in the pods to the actual man she got. But she said being around him has helped warm her up to him, and that she is starting to feel at ease and comfortable, and she is physically attracted to him, which is, I think, awesome, because I feel like that's what the assignment is about. If he would have never said anything, then she probably wouldn't have had any expectation to have to overcome anything. She could have just been like, "Oh, this is Nick. All right, great," and they could have just went into it, and then she still would have to warm up to him, but the fact that he set a standard that he couldn't meet, that probably set them back a little bit. But she says she's okay. She is physically attracted to him, and that they're going to work through it. So great. The couples are getting ready for bed. I just put down what stuck out. With Taylor and Garrett, there was a scene where Garrett sleeps with tape over his mouth. I never heard of that. I don't know anything about that. You guys let me know. What is that? Do you guys sleep with tape over your mouth, or do you know why someone would sleep with tape over their mouth? Ashley and Tyler are going to bed. Of course, this stuck out to me. Why? Because they prayed before they went to bed. Tyler led them in prayer. I thought that was sweet. Ramses and Marissa. Now, Ramses and Marissa, okay, I ain't gonna hold you. Off of the scenes we saw earlier, I just knew Steven and Monica. Oh, Monica. I can't help it. That's my songs in my head. Steven and Monica are probably going to be the first one to what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my goodness. Y'all know what I'm saying. Do basically. They were going to be the first ones to do that. Ramses and Marissa beat them to it. Okay. They are talking before bed, and their conversation was giving like they did it already, because they were like, I think it's just the nerves and the sexual tension has been broken. And I'm like, the sexual tension been broken. And yeah, we find out that they had the word is on my tongue. It starts with a C, but it's not coming out. But whatever, they did the do after dinner. And I guess she said, look, we're engaged, I'm his fiance. And I said, but girl, you could have waited. Well, let me mind my business. Stay in my lane. Okay, so now we are at the next morning. In the last scene of the episode, we have Hannah and Nick again. They're out by this like pool beach area, and there were some ducks, or like she called them swans, he called them ducks, that you can ride on them. So Nick says he wants to ride one, and Hannah's like, no, don't do it. He was like, don't do it. And she's like, no, I don't like when men ride stuff. He was like, what? And she was like, when men ride stuff, it gives her the ick to see men riding stuff or whatever else. He was like, but women can do it. And she's like, yeah, women can do it. It's fine. But like when men ride things, it gives her the ick. She said it makes her feel uncomfortable. And then he was like, well, he asked if she wants to ride with him, and she was like, you just go ride. I'll just turn my head. So Nick goes and gets on one. There's like 8 of the little ducks. So as he's getting on one of the other guests at the resort says something about riding one, and then he invites her to come ride, and he's like, oh yeah, you want to come ride with me, whatever. So and they can race or whatever else. So the lady gets on the other one, and Hannah is just like looking like, oh my God. And she's like, dude, like he's an idiot or whatever. And so I guess clearly she felt away because he's talking to another woman, and he's, inviting her to come play. So the lady sits on the duck next to him, and she's like, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from the States. And then Hannah's like, Nick. And it was kind of like, she kind of like snapped like, Nick. And the lady was like, oh, she's jealous. Don't be jealous. I was just like, oh no, whatever. Like, why, lady? And so, she was like, don't be jealous. So Nick kind of laughs, and Hannah's like, like I'm not jealous or whatever. And so they proceed with their little race. And then, Hannah's like, he can't be trusted. And then he comes back, and then they talk, and it's kind of like a passive aggressive because he's like, were you jealous of the duck or whatever? And she's like, no, he was like, were you jealous? And she was like, of the duck. And then he's like, and then she was like, or the lady. And he was like, yeah. And she was like, yeah, I was, or whatever she said. But it was like she was being sarcastic, but you guys also brought it up. So I don't know. I don't know. But we shall see, y'all. There's one more episode to go. That's, like I said, that's pretty much how the scene ended, was them sitting there. I'm sure she feels away because he let that lady race him on the ducks. I'm guessing he probably don't feel like he did anything wrong, and that's just where we are. So one more episode left, episode 6. Sorry, y'all. Episode 6 is where we are about to end. That review will come out tomorrow, and then Wednesday we have 3 more episodes, so 7, 8, 9. Depending on how they go, I would love to do just one video for all of them. So don't be surprised if I do one video, if I'm able to, because once they're out the pods, it's kind of like, I'm just gonna start taking like the meat of scenes and just kind of putting them together. So we may be able to just do one episode for that, hopefully. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Leave your comments below what you thought of this episode. And again, if you want to hear more, then check out Faith Over Everything podcast. We do have a new episode coming out this Friday as well. Okay. But until then, I will see you guys in episode 6. Ta-ta.